Good morning. Welcome to Business 360, where business markets and the economy come into full view. I'm Margaux Salcedo, and this is the Bilyonaryo News Channel. The Philippines is set to host both U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang at the ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting this week. We talk trade diplomacy with the American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. The Lopez family feud could end with an outsider taking control. Sources say a billionaire is in advanced talks to buy the controlling 71% stake in Lopez Incorporated. And today is day 7 of the Duterte impeachment trial. The senator judges are set to debate whether to subpoena the vice president's bank and tax records. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Manila this week for the ASEAN meetings, and so is China's top diplomat Wang Yi, putting the Philippines squarely in the middle of a U.S.-China rivalry. The stakes are also economic. The country is building a massive AI and semiconductor hub in New Clark City as part of the U.S.-led initiative Pax Silica. Joining us this morning is Eb Hinchcliffe, Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Good morning, Mr. Hinchcliffe.
How are you?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you for joining us today. It's very exciting as Secretary Rubio is in Manila this week. He arrived a couple of days ago for the ASEAN meetings. In fact, he's here from July 19 to 24, I believe. It's quite a long visit. From the business communities or from AmCham's side, what would count as a real tangible win coming out of this visit?
Well, I mean, Rubio's visit basically is focused on the ministers' meeting, which will, they're here to discuss things like the Myanmar peace accord, peace process. They'll probably be discussing human rights, and I really hope they'll be talking about the situation in the South China Sea, the West Philippine Sea issue.
Yes, regarding the South China Sea issue, Wang Yi is actually also in Manila at the moment. So the Philippines is courting U.S. investment while China is still being a massive economic player. Can the Philippines deepen ties with Washington without, quote-unquote, slamming the door on China commercially?
Well, I think it's an opportunity to have both of them in the country at the same time. Maybe there can be some really progressive discussions on the topic.
And there is, of course, the Luzon Economic Corridor, and then there's also the Pax Silica, lots happening. And the Philippines is also, with the United States, targeting a November signing of the new Clark City Framework Agreement, potentially with President Trump, if, and hopefully, he arrives also for the ASEAN Summit in November. From your perspective, sir, are we on track? What do you think still needs to be done before it can be signed?
I think there's a lot that can be done. I think we'll start off with maybe perhaps the Pax Silica. It's a worldwide program of the United States for the program, and the Philippines is just one of the many in Asia as well as the rest of the world. It's basically a chip to cloud alliance. I mean, it's where they really want to secure the semiconductor industries, it's focused on electronics goods, etc. But it's it's going to be it's tied into the Luzon Economic Corridor. We can talk about that in a minute. But I think it's chosen as one of the flagship sites for the United States. It's Pax Silica and Clark. It's a 4,000 acre, about 1,600 hectare, huge site. So my opinion is that it's a great opportunity for the Philippines, of course. To me, it sounds like more, we're trying to make sure that we got a supply chain security, that we're Taiwan plus one. I don't think anything's going to leave Taiwan, but it's also good from a worldwide perspective to have a hub where we can put a extra supply chain operation here. And I think the challenges will involve mostly I think two of them. One of them is the energy situation. How do you provide enough energy to supply these? There'll be hypercenters, data centers, electronic goods, semiconductor manufacturing of this type, and they all require large amounts of energy. So how do we get enough energy to run those plants? I think also the second one, make sure that it's environmentally friendly. Those type factories can produce some of the challenges for the environment, and make sure we're environmentally friendly on that. But it's, actually, I think Silica is what I think they're calling an AI native. That's production of logistics will all be based around using optimizing artificial intelligence. So all those things are, certainly a plus for the Philippines and certainly a plus for North Luzon.
You mentioned energy with respect to the Luzon Economic Corridor and PAC Silica, and I guess, is that also one of the reasons why there is going to be investments in terms of nuclear energy? And also, I saw that there might also be investments in terms of hydro.
All of those, all of the above. I think, nuclear energy is certainly, your small reactors are going to play a key part in this. I think, nuclear energy, I think all of the renewables, especially offshore wind, possibly onshore wind, all of those play a major part into it. But I think the big challenge there is more maybe red tape. It's how do you cut through? Right now it currently takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get a permit to build a power plant offshore, anything dealing with energy generation, I think. And so I think, Secretary Pettis at ARTA is doing a fantastic job from the overall concept of ARTA. He's done a great job, and we continue supporting. But at the same time, we have the issue about how long does it take to get an energy permit. Those should be addressed and try to cut any way possible. I also, from a Luzon Economic Corridor, I have met with a couple of the Philippine business groups. AmCham is going to be the headquarters for the private sector for Luzon Economic Corridor, and I'm sure that will also participate with the Silica facility in the Clark. But meeting with these Philippine business groups, we all reached an agreement that the private sector can move much faster than the government sector, and so we're not going to wait for November or whatever. We're going to go ahead and start planning now. AmCham, actually, I have on my board of directors has a really strong subcommittee, ad hoc committee working on it already, make sure that the real estate, the finance, and these type of things are in place.
What are you, for AmCham, what is the priority for AmCham? I understand for a lot of this is going towards semiconductors. Is that the focus? I read that really also nuclear energy. There's a target as well for that. There was already the 1-2-3 agreement. Well, what is the prioritization for the business community?
Well, this, if you look at just focus right now, we talk about LEC, the Silica is mostly electronics, semiconductor, those type of, the data centers, hyperscales. But if you look at LEC, that's from Subic to Clark to Manila Bay to Manila Port down to Batangas. That area is basically 50% of the Philippines' GDP. And so it's a huge impact as we develop it more. If you look at Clark New City, they're looking at building an Aerotropolis there at Clark with the shopping malls.
In fact, we saw that more than 50 companies are looking to invest in this, and Foxconn is supposedly has been reported considered as an anchor investor. Would you know who else is interested in investing, and how real is that interest right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of companies interested. I'm going to have to probably leave that to them to make the announcement of when they're coming in and what they're doing. But we actually have, as AmCham is the headquarters here, we're actually putting up a map showing all the different type of investments, locations, projects, etc. Remember, this now includes not just infrastructure, not just rail and ports and seaports and airports. It also involves agriculture, food security, connectivity, power distribution, critical minerals. All of these are out there. It's going to take it. I like to say, Margaux, if you look at Bonifacio Global City, Bonifacio was a rice field, and it took them over a decade to build it into what it is today, maybe almost 15 years. Now then we're talking about Clark, Subic, Batangas, Calabarzon, and building it into something similar to what we did at BGC, the races. This is a tremendous opportunity, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Yes,
It's
I
going
think
to
the
take.
investments are more looking at like 5 years, like a 5-year investment plan. Although, of course, at the moment, before we begin, critics have been saying that the Philippines might not necessarily, maybe the costs might outweigh the benefits in terms of the environmental price. And there's also the issue of the indigenous peoples who are being taken out of their land. What from your cost benefit analysis, is that a fair concern?
Not so much. I think that it's pretty obvious what the benefits are, both to the job, the workforce, to the economy. It can only be a plus. It's not so big.
Of
We,
course, this
I've talked with BDO. I've talked with Citibank, some of these other major banks. BDO assures me that the capital is available for all these projects. The companies are coming in and looking at it. I've had so many phone calls concerning this and dealing with them. It's just exciting, but it's going to take we're still in a very, very infant stage of this.
do you think this can be the landmark legacy of the Marcos administration?
Could be. It's going to be one of the major areas, but I think it's way beyond the Marcos administration. It's going to both for, the thing that's interesting is that we have, for the first time in 16 years, every 16 years it happens, the United States elects a new president the same year the Philippines elects a new president. Australia's having elections and Taiwan's having elections in 2028. So all of these will play a part in this. But it's beyond the Marcos administration by far. But I do think we have this year and a half to 2 years now of an opportunity to really seize the moment and make it institutionalized in the next. So Marcos could have that as his part of his legacy.
Yes, and of course, we are celebrating for the Americans, it's 250 years of the United States. And for the Philippines, it's the 85th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the United States. So on that note, happy anniversary. And thank you for also being here. Thank you to the American Chamber of Commerce. But for you, in your analysis, having celebrated 85 years, looking forward, what would success actually look like for the Philippines-U.S. economic relationship?
I add one more plug then. While the Philippines and the U.S. are celebrating their 80th year, AmCham Philippines is celebrating its 125th year, starting in 2027. We started in 1902.
Oh my goodness! So you're older than the diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the United States. So happy 120 years. Is that also this year?
Starting in 2027.
Starting in 2027. Okay, so 80 years for the Philippines-U.S. diplomatic relations and 120 years for AmCham. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can further strengthen our U.S.-Philippines diplomatic relations and economic partnerships. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Great, Margaux. Thank you.
The Senate Impeachment Court is set to debate whether to subpoena Vice President Sara Duterte's bank and tax records. And a family business empire could soon change hands as 3 Lopez family branches reportedly negotiate a 45 billion peso sale of their stake in Lopez Incorporated. You're watching Business 360. Welcome back to Business 360. I am Margaux Salcedo. The impeachment trial enters a key stage as Senator judges prepare to decide on the request to examine Vice President Sara Duterte's financial records. Hannah T is on the line for more details. Hannah?
Margaux, to prevent further delays in the trial, Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo said the impeachment court wants to settle as early as possible the issue of whether to subpoena Vice President Sara Duterte's bank and tax records or not. In an interview, Tulfo said the court will first hear the arguments of both the prosecution and the defense before deciding on the request to obtain the VP's bank, tax, and other financial records. He said resolving the matter early would allow the impeachment court to focus on the presentation clarification of evidence once the relevant article of impeachment is taken up, instead of interrupting the trial to debate procedural issues. Tulfo also stressed that the impeachment trial should move as efficiently as possible, saying prolonged proceedings are unfair to the Vice President and that the public deserves a timely resolution of the case. Margaux, we are at day 7 of the trial, which is expected to tackle the arguments of both the prosec and the defense on whether the VP's bank records should be subpoenaed. The defense team of the VP earlier said it is a fishing expedition and that her tax records, even before she was VP, shouldn't be examined, as her positions as vice mayor and mayor of Davao City are not impeachable offices. But the prosecution insists that opening the door to the VP's transactions will provide a bigger picture to explain how the VP amassed alleged unexplained wealth and her business interests. Once the issue is tackled, Margaux, the senator judges have to put it to a vote on whether they should subpoena the records of the vice president, and majority wins. Margaux.
Hannah, is there any idea how much they are talking about when it comes to the financial transactions of VP Sara Duterte, even before she was vice president?
Margaux, according to the House prosecution, AMLAC records actually show that the VP's financial activity already surged to about 208 million pesos in 2007, and then it exceeded 400 million pesos annually between 2009 and 2013, and it has peaks of about 705 million pesos in 2009, more than 600 million in 2010, and more than 500 million in 2011. And the prosecution said that from 2007 to 2013, while she was serving as vice mayor and then mayor of Davao City, her total financial activity reached more than 3 billion pesos, which it argues that is relevant to its allegation of unexplained wealth and her fitness to hold public office. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Hannity. Good morning. And protesters are now taking to the streets as they demand for greater transparency into Vice President Sara Duterte's financial records. John Manalo joins us live. Joan.
Margaux youth groups today called on the Senate impeachment court to immediately subpoena the tax and bank records of Vice President Sara Duterte as the court tackles pending motions when the impeachment proceedings resume today. The Samahan ng Progresibong Kabataan, or SPARC, staged a lightning rally outside the Senate, urging the senator judges to vote in favor of the full disclosure of the Vice President's financial records. The group rejected a defense's argument that disclosing these records would be overbroad and oppressive, maintaining that a full examination of the documents is necessary to ensure clarity and accountability from public officials accused of corruption. According to the group, reviewing the records is an important part of the impeachment proceedings against the Vice President. They also stressed that transparency and accountability in the use of public funds must be upheld. Their program lasted for less than 10 minutes, after which the protesters peacefully dispersed from the Senate premises. Prior to today's rally, several other groups had also staged protests outside the Senate as impeachment trial of VP Sara continues. The vote on the motion seeking the full disclosure of VP Sara's financial records, scheduled for this afternoon, is expected to be one of the most significant procedural rulings in the impeachment trial. The prosecution argues that the requested records are essential to proving the allegations under Article 2 of the Articles of Impeachment, particularly those involving the Vice President's alleged undeclared wealth. The proposed subpoena covers VP Sara's bank accounts, tax records, and documents from the Anti-Money Laundering Council, as well as those of her husband, lawyer Manasseh Carpio. Right now, Margaux members of the Akbayan Party are also staging a protest here outside the Senate, also urging the Senate impeachment court to immediately subpoena the said tax and bank records of Vice President Sara Duterte for the impeachment trial. Akbayan President Rafaela David stressed that the issue goes beyond financial documents and cuts to the very heart of public accountability. And they also echoed House Prosecutor and Akbayan Party's Representative Chel Jokno's declaration that the truth is not confidential. And that's the latest from outside the Senate. Back to you, Margaux.
That was Joan Manalo live at the Senate. The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's inquiry into the flood control scandal will resume after the President's State of the Nation address next week. In a radio interview, Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Erwin Tulfo said the panel's membership will be formalized when the Senate resumes session on July 27. But for now, the panel cannot conduct a hearing yet because membership has not yet been finalized. Tulfo insists the probe will push through and even said new names could emerge. Public Works and Highways Chief Secretary Vince Dizon vows to fully cooperate with any investigation into alleged irregularities in the 2019 SEA Games. Dizon, who headed the base's Conversion and Development Authority at the time, insists his conscience is clear. He said he and other officials had previously faced a case related to the SEA Games projects, but that these were dismissed in 2021.
Kagaya nga na sinabi na rin ng Ombudsman at ng NBI, 2021 pa yan na-dismiss eh. May nagkaso na dyan eh. Laban sa akin, laban sa iba't ibang mga opisyales, pero na-dismiss na yan December 2021 pa. So, ano tayo, kampante tayo dyan. Pero at the same time, kung mayroong mga investigasyon, kampante din tayo magko-cooperate dyan. Kasi, malinis ang konsensya natin at naniniwala tayo na napakaayos ng mga facilities na yan at napakaayos ng pagkagawa.
Global oil prices jumped with the benchmark Brent crude oil trading at more than $90 per barrel again. This as the United States strikes Iran for the 9th consecutive night. But Iran is standing its ground.
I told them there that our enrichment is not for sale. This is something the people of Iran for 20 years have endured sanctions for. Scientists have shed their blood. Can we sell it? You say you'll build a power plant for me. What are you building? I said there, no bribes and no threats. You have to threaten someone who is afraid.
A reported deal could reshape the Lopez business empire while SM Prime sticks to a careful growth plan in China. Gillian Geronimo has the details.
The Lopez family feud may be heading for a resolution, but it could end with both sides giving up control of their business empire to an outside investor. 3 family branches are reportedly in advanced talks to sell their combined 70.83% stake in privately held Lopez Incorporated to one of the country's ultra-billionaryos for a reported 45 billion pesos. The sellers are Mantes Holdings, Creme Investment, and Presta Holdings Corporation, whose shareholders include former ABS-CBN chairman Eugenio Gabi Lopez III and other members of the Lopez family. If the deal pushes through, the buyer would gain control of Lopez Incorporated, the family's top holding company with major interests in ABS-CBN, Lopez Holdings, First Philippine Holdings, First Gen, and Rockwell Land, subject to final terms and regulatory approvals. The only holdout is Crosslaw Holdings, the family branch that includes Federico Piqui Lopez. Crosslaw would retain its 29.17% minority stake if the sale is completed. The reported sale comes after a family dispute that led to Piqui Lopez's removal as president of Lopez Inc., following a 5-2 board vote backed by the 3 selling branches. If the negotiations result in a final deal, control of the Lopez family's business empire would pass to an outside investor, marking a major turning point for one of the country's most prominent business dynasties. SM Prime Holdings says it is taking a cautious approach to expansion in China despite receiving proposals from local governments for new projects. Company President Jeffrey Lim says the property giant will prioritize developing its existing land bank and pipeline projects rather than pursuing every opportunity in the world's second-largest economy. Lim adds that China's operations remain profitable but still account for only a small share of SM Prime's overall business, making aggressive expansion unnecessary at this time. The company currently operates 9 malls across mainland China and has decided to focus future growth in Fujian province, where founder Henry C. Sr. had his roots and where the SM brand has strong recognition. Lim notes that the company's long-term strategy is to maximize the value of its existing properties, with the Xiamen Estate serving as a testbed for future mixed-use developments abroad. For Business 360, Jillian Geronimo, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
On our stocks watch, the Philippine Stock Exchange Index opens higher, trading well past the 6,400 level as of 9:30 a.m. First Gen is among the most active stocks, along with ICTSI and BPI. Over on Wall Street, a make-or-break week of tech earnings is shaping up as the toughest test yet for the AI trade. Alphabet, Intel, and Tesla all report this week. Results that will show whether the profit growth behind chip and AI stocks still justifies their price. This comes against the backdrop of higher oil prices, losses across Asian markets, and next week's U.S. Federal Reserve decision. And that's Business 360. I'm Margaux Salcedo. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.